Good morning. My name is Ludovica Poponcini, and today we're going to talk about the West African project for the facilitation of transit, transport, and trade in West Africa. This project is covering 3 countries: Benin, Burkina Faso, and Niger. And throughout this video series, we're going to share with you the information about this project, the activities, but also share some intervention from the delegates of those countries who are involved in this project. Today we are with Mr. Inama, the head of project at UNCTAD, and we're gonna take this occasion to ask some questions about the project. So, Mr. Inama, could you please describe what is the West African project?
Well, West African project on transit, transport and trade facilitation is the result of field activities that UNCTAD has conducted over the years. More specifically, we carried out a series of diagnostic trade integration studies that are funded by the NAS Integrated Framework. And the objective of these studies is to identify the role of trade in the development, socio-economic development of these countries. And we found out that one obstacle to the role of trade in the development, the socio-economic development of these countries has been diminished by the fact that there has been bottlenecks in the transit trade in the region. The transit trade is extremely costly and extremely late. From moving goods from the port countries of the West African region to the landlocked countries of the African region is extremely expensive and extremely lengthy, in terms of time. And this has a repercussion on the import and export trade of this country and their participation to the world trade, since they are not competitive because of the cost of transporting the goods within the region. So at the end of these diagnostic trade integration studies, we had a matrix of action where, we indicated that these countries, they need to address these issues of transit, transport and trade facilitation. And the way, to best address it, these shortcomings was to implement the regional and multilateral convention that has been already existing. So, we were not discovering anything in the sense that there are a series of regional conventions and multilateral conventions that are regulating transport, transit and trade facilitation in the region. The issue is that the lack of implementation of this commitment. So the project is leveraging on the existing commitment of the countries in order to get them implemented and reduce the cost of transit and transport in the region and allow them to be better integrated in global and regional value chains. That's, in a nutshell, is the West African project.
Could you highlight some activities that the project is implementing?
Well, the project just started the field activities in the sense that one of the big challenges that in West Africa is to identify what are the obstacles at the border and crossing borders. And since there is a wide variety of stakeholders, which are customs, police, traders, and each one of them has his own version, or why, there has been delays and why there are costs, and also, we have to admit, why there is corruption. So the first, challenge is to identify what exactly is going on at the border and try to reconstruct the version of each one of the stakeholders. This is the first step. The second step is to examine the consistencies of the practices which is done by customs, by the various actors, against the commitments that the countries they have at regional level and a multilateral level. So that, by contrasting this, then we can bring to the attention of the governments and to the regional institutions the fact that certain practices undertaken by actor A, B, and C, they are not consistent with what they signed, what of their multilateral commitments. And so we hope, that this will induce to reform, the necessary reform, to reduce the cost and delays in the transport in the West African region.
And so what are the upcoming activities that the West African project is going to organize?
As I said, the first one, is the field activities going to the border. To the borders, we identified a number of borders between Niger and Benin and between Burkina Faso and Togo, where there are joint border posts that they have been funded, but they are not working correctly. In this, we are partnering with the World Bank and other organizations of the region, like ECOWAS and the YMO, which have already carried out studies and activities there. So we are starting from this ground. We're building on it, and after we will have sub-regional meetings which will be held in September, October, to discuss the findings of these visits. So that's correspond, as I say, to step one and step two. Step one, identifying what is going on at the borders. Step two, is discussing at the national and sub-regional level how to address these issues, contrasting what we found out at the border with the regional commitments or multilateral commitment that the same countries they have engaged to put in place in order to reduce these costs and delays.
And therefore, can you share with us the expected outcomes of the project?
The expected outcome is very simple in the sense that the aim is to reduce these costs and delays. However, I must say it's very ambitious. And we are not the first one to try, in the sense that there has been other projects before us, even with larger budgets, and the problem remains there. And what our advantage is that we are building up on what has been carried out by others, by these previous projects. We are recording the lesson learned, the analysis that has been carried out, and also we learn from mistakes, that others have done. So we have hope, that at least at sub-regional level for the three countries that you mentioned, Niger, Benin, and Burkina Faso, we will try, we will achieve at the end of the project some consistent reduction of these costs and delays in crossing borders within the region.
Well, thank you very much for all this information about the West African project, and thank you for your time, and follow us in the next videos about the West African project for the facilitation of transit, trade, and transport in West Africa. Thank you very much.